So again, for those of you joining us live, the bottom of your webinar window has a little Q&A button, which you can use to submit questions to us. We've gotten a few here during the presentation. The first one is going to come from Sam, and I think this is a question that I'm going to direct to Rick. And so Sam is asking about these decoy ballots, this concept that an individual participant in an election is going to have many ballots, one of which is, the real one is counted. The rest help to make it impossible for someone to buy a voter's vote. And so Sam's asking, what stops, if there's these decoy ballots and most of them are not real, but one of them is real, their real vote, what is going to stop a vote buyer from simply requiring proof that the ballot that's not a decoy show me your real ballot.
That is a great question. So while there is proof that there is a decoy and the user receives that, the proofs that a ballot is real aren't accessible to the user. And this is kind of a really cool thing, but we have this anonymous network where we can send these messages. And that makes it very easy to prove that we've sent an election authorization code. We haven't determined terminology, so I'm making it up. An election authorization code to users and not reveal who they are. And we can prove that very easily with the system. So just to summarize that, maybe is, someone just mentioned to me in private chat, no math equations, please, is there's always a proof of decoy, and there's never a proof that a ballot is real. The proof that the ballots are real is a separate protocol.
All right, thank you, Rick. So next we've got a question that I'm going to aim over to Ben here. And so a user, one of our participants is asking about, with the limited postages, does this mean that non-business users who onboard later in the process are all going to need to use paid postage, or what does this distribution of free postage look like?
So we're going to be adding other mechanisms to get authenticated users, although I'm not able to discuss those at this time. But no, so there's a mechanism to burn a small number of tokens to get an account which accrues free postage. So it's not much like the math we says that I've got suggests that it'll be imminently affordable, but once you do that, you'll have free postage forever. So as long, 100 years down the line, someone will still be able to get an account with free postage.
Okay, so you're saying that, if I have an XX network account in good standing, no matter when I have that created, I will receive a certain number of free messages or free postage. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not going to change. Or at least the plan isn't for that to change. We're not creating like different types of accounts with different rights, and we're not trying to time limit access to these resources. We do believe that access to free messaging borders, if not is, a fundamental human right.
Great. Ben, I've got another question about this sort of XX coin postage loop, the sort of circle that you have here between accounts, the virtual pool, and the blockchain. How similar is this to other blockchains? Is there another blockchain that you can think of that would be a good analogy for this, or how much of this is brand new coming from the XX network team?
So there are some parallels to postage and gas on the Ethereum network. The mechanisms are different, but the basic idea is the same, which is that you've got this unit which is used to purchase the utility of the network, which is fundamentally received through the token of the network. Regards to the virtual pool, I haven't seen it everywhere. That being said, there are many different things out there, and I'm not researching even a small fraction of them. So I'm not going to say it's unique, but certainly I think that portions of this are especially tailored to our network.
I would also add to that the postage is perhaps not unique, but it's based on the message count, not how many bytecode instructions you run or how many resources you're going to cause another system on the internet to run. It's how many messages you send.
It's far simpler to predict usage and tailor plans to ensure that your usage is acceptable and you don't overrun or underrun or have to add more or don't finish in time, because it's just usage.
Right. Yeah, and to the point that you made there earlier, Ben, one of the benefits of having, this kind of gated ability to send messages is that it's going to reduce spam on the network. If there's a certain cost, even if it's quite a low cost to send messages at scale, millions of messages, then hopefully that's going to make spammers think twice. All right, so I've got another question here, and I'm going to point this one to Ben as well. And so, you were talking about kind of the inflation schedule, especially at that sort of initial bootstrapping phase. If I hold a certain number of XX coins, in general, I don't like to hear about inflation, right? Because I want those XX coins to stay valuable. Can you talk about, this inflation plan? How does that, again, line up with other cryptocurrencies?
So in general, at least at the start, our inflation plan is lower. It's more rare in this space to see long-term inflation. Generally, our view is that it's very small. I mean, when you look at, for example, most economies, it's far less than they experience. It's our general view that that yes, voting will balance potential problems, and the fact that these coins themselves aren't the source of power in the network will help diffuse problems where nodes become a more and more powerful presence. We also think that it's highly likely that the balance we proposed here is wrong. It's very difficult to predict these beforehand. That's why in classical economics you don't have you have groups reevaluating month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. And we're excited that we believe that we've got a governance process which can be agile and reactive. So it can make decisions to alter the course if it's not functioning properly. And we think that having a tight loop about decision making really helps solve potential long-term problems. So yes, I think that our governance will help offset the problems. That being said, we've tried to balance it so that the long-term problems won't be as significant as we've seen in other platforms.
I want to add to that I think it can't be understated how valuable our voter turnout models are. I would vote every election if I got a couple $100 for it. And being able to drive turnout like that, I think, is very unique. I've never seen that in any system before.
Great. Thanks, Rick and Ben. So there's another question from Sam here that I'll partially answer and then maybe also hand it over to Ben and Rick. And so Sam's asking, what internal discussion have you guys had about the drawbacks of incentivizing node operators? Is your view that the distributed sampled voting will counterbalance potential problems? And so, the first thing here to think about is that we want node operators to be relatively happy to be nodes on the XX network. We want them to be pretty stable. As we've talked about in a couple of these webinars, the XX network is not one where nodes can just freely come and go month by month, day by day, week by week. There's a consensus mechanism, a governance mechanism to bring nodes into the XX network. And we want, once they're in, for that to be a stable and long-term relationship. And so that means that it needs to be, it would be great if people would do that for free for the XX network. But realistically, we need to make it economically an attractive thing. And, another dimension of this is that we're going to limit, it's not going to be the case where one individual controls dozens or hundreds or thousands of nodes. We want this, one dimension of when we say the XX network is going to be extremely distributed is that we don't have a lot of concentrated power in the hand of any one node operator. And so these need to be financially attractive. At the same time, that needs to be balanced against the cost of, the fees, the costs that are borne across the network elsewhere. And so that's where some of these governance balancing factors that Ben's discussed comes into practice, where we don't want the governance voting system to say, how about no fees, and then node operators get no incentive to keep running their nodes. And so we need to make sure we have some protections in place there. But at the same time, we want the fees to be low enough to make this a very attractive system to use. And so that's kind of the thought process. And it's a balancing one where we're going to try to set an initial balance point, but that over the long term, we think the network's governance is going to be in a position to handle. And so we just need to find what's that good balancing point and make sure that people's incentives and interests are aligned in what's the long-term health of this network. And so, Ben, I don't know what you have to add to that.
I think you really covered it. Thank you.
Great. All right. We'll welcome a few more questions here. All right. And then also we can start to think about wrapping up. Ben or Rick, do you have any kind of closing thoughts to offer here today?
Yeah, I've got some. So more so than just about anything we've presented up to this point, governance and economics are a conversation where they're culturally and they're societally dependent. And this means that you come to it with biases you don't know you have. So we think that it's incredibly important that the community as a whole and the people who want to use this network are able to share with us their opinions and able to bring in other points of view. And those of you who are here, we hope that maybe we've inspired you to think about this. And if you have other ideas or you find flaws or you find ways that this doesn't resonate with you, we would really appreciate to hear that. And we don't think that we're able to produce something like this just in our own heads. So thank you for listening, and we hope that you'll engage us in further discussions.
Thanks, Ben.
I'll echo Ben's comment. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing feedback. And I just want to emphasize the strength of the actual technology behind the voting. It's state of the art. It's things that you hope you see in public elections 10 years from now. And I'm very excited to see it. I'm super excited to see a larger deployment of random sample voting out in the world.
Great, thank you, Rick. And yeah, I would simply echo these other two, where, if you've had a chance to read through our technical documents, the XX Network white paper, the technical brief on the Praxis website, and then also the architecture brief from Elixir, there's a lot of things where we're programming in place the behavior of computers, where that's something that's relatively static and predictable. These questions of governance and token economics, where you can't program human behavior, right? This is coming up with a set of rules for folks to act in harmony with each other in the best interests of the group as a whole. And so that's inherently something that is going to be an ongoing conversation. And so we thank you very much for joining this part of that conversation this evening. And we encourage and ask you to join us in that conversation. We're going to be hosting our next webinar is going to be Monday rather than Tuesday because of the holiday, but Monday the 23rd, 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So morning in the Western Hemisphere, afternoon or evening in the Eastern Hemisphere. And in addition, the conversation is always ongoing in our Telegram and our Discord channels. You can find links to those on the Elixir and the Praxis websites. And so I think that closes it for today. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking again soon.